Isolation. The team of researchers stationed at the remote Arctic outpost had grown accustomed to their isolated way of life. For months, they worked tirelessly to collect data on the changing landscape and the impact of climate change on the area's ecosystem. They knew that in this part of the world, being stranded was always a possibility, but deep down, they never truly believed it would happen to them. That was until the freak storm hit. The snowflakes fell so heavily that they could barely see a few feet in front of them. The winds howled through the valley, battering the walls of their base camp. Despite their efforts to secure the facility, the storm proved too much for their defenses. The power flickered and then went out completely, leaving them in total darkness. For days, the team huddled together in the bitter cold, rationing their dwindling supplies of food and water. They tried everything to make contact with the outside world, but radio signals were blocked by the storm. It soon became clear that they were completely alone in the wilderness. One morning, they woke up to find strange footprints leading away from the base camp. The prints were large and wide, unlike any animal they had ever seen. At first, they thought it might be a polar bear, but the prints were too symmetrical and deliberate. They followed the prints carefully, weapons at the ready, but found nothing. As the days passed, the team began to hear strange noises outside of the base camp. At first, they dismissed the sounds as simply the wind or wildlife outside. But as the noises grew louder and more persistent, they realized that something else was out there. One night, despite the blizzard still raging outside, one of the team members ventured out into the dark to investigate. He returned minutes later, terrified and screaming, claiming he had seen something moving in the shadows. The team barricaded themselves inside the base camp, their imaginations running wild with what horrors might be lurking just beyond the walls. They rationed their food and water even more strictly, unsure of how much longer they could survive. Despite their best efforts, the team began to succumb to paranoia and fear. They turned on each other, accusing one another of being in league with the mysterious creature that stalked them. In a fit of desperation, one member of the team decided to venture outside again, hoping to find some way to escape or signal for help. The rest of the team watched in horror as he was dragged off into the darkness by an unseen force. With their numbers dwindling and their supplies running out, the remaining members of the team knew that they had to make a final stand against the creature that haunted them. They spent hours fortifying the base camp, preparing traps and weapons for the inevitable attack. When the creature finally attacked, they fought with everything they had. In the end, it was not enough. One by one, the team fell, until there was only one survivor left. As the storm finally abated and the rescue teams arrived, the survivor was carried away, shaking and traumatized from the horrors he had faced. He would never forget the isolation of the Arctic wilderness and the terror that lurked just beyond the walls of his base camp.